Welcome to the third installment of Aquarius Farms. This time, instead of talking about rows, we're going to talk about big hills. These are our Three Sisters mounds. So most of these, and it constitutes, I'd say, half of our growing square footage. Most of these will be planted in the Three Sisters style, which will be a mix of melons for ground cover, peas and beans as nitrogen fixers and an additional crop, and then corn growing both as a trellis for the legumes and an additional crop as well. Now, each one of these beds or mounds is constructed in a fashion that's very similar to the rows themselves, in that they're primarily rotten logs, bucket packed sod with a 6-inch to a foot deep application of topsoil, sometimes thicker depending on how much was available at that particular site we were digging. Now, one thing that's fairly incredible is that my friend, actually with a rented 60,000-pound excavator, was able to construct this entire garden, a fairly extensive squash and pumpkin patch down below, which is a little difficult to see from here, as well as a trout pond up above the berm, for which you can see sort of just above my ATV, about the middle of the screen. Now, these mounds are tall. In fact, the tallest of them is probably 8 to 10 feet tall. And our intention, as we haven't yet planted these, that's pretty much next on the list, is that we're going to cut in some stone steps using rock we source on site, just so that you've got an easy route to access the top of the mound. But one of the logistical things we had to think through is how are we going to harvest or otherwise attend to such unwieldy looking structures. And basically what it boils down to is that these are primarily going to get planted with late season crops that only get harvested once, to minimize the amount of going up and down a giant mound like this, which is, as for obvious reasons, you don't really want to do much, because although they are fairly stable over time, you will do some damage, and it's just 8 feet off the ground. So that's one of our growing mounds. It'll be planted in the Three Sisters style and look much, much prettier once it's tilled and rock picked. But thank you for watching another installment of Aquarius Farms.